Okay, I'm Hunt Talk today. I'm down here at the Chatham-Kent Convention Center, and my guest today is Dr. Scott Petrie. How are you doing, Scott?
Good, Peter. How are you doing?
Good. We're down here because you have a committee meeting for the Lake St. Clair chapter of the LongPoint Waterfowl inaugural fundraising dinner. Boy, that's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
So what's it all about in a nutshell?
Overall, LongPoint Waterfowl does research throughout the Great Lakes, especially the lower Great Lakes area, which includes Lake St. Clair. And we've done research here in the past, but we're really starting to increase our research efforts down here, largely because it's one of the most important wetland complexes on the Great Lakes, and I would consider it to be the most threatened wetland complexes in the Great Lakes.
And why is that?
All the wetlands, or almost all the wetlands around Lake St. Clair are diked, which makes them very easily drained. We've already lost probably well over 95% of the wetlands that were here when Europeans arrived. And that makes those few that are left that much more important to conserve for the waterfowl that are coming through. And the fact that they're diked, it makes them, again, very easily drained. We've got very high land costs down here, which increases the incentive to convert them to agriculture. We've lost a few wetlands that I know of in the last 5 or 6 years. And so there's always that threat component here.
I know there's a lot of controversy in the area that the farmers are selling off bush lots and just cutting them down and turning into cash crops. Any thoughts on that?
I certainly see it as unfortunate, and I see it similar to our wetland legislation. We have inadequate legislation to protect those wildlife habitats, which is key to protecting them. We need to have proper legislation in place so that those things can't be done.
I know also in this week what made the news was this green algae over in the Ohio area. Is it going to have any effect on the Canadian tourists?
I suspect it probably will, and that's it's indicative of wholesale or broad scale landscape change. You remove the inland wetlands that hold water, and water starts running off the landscape much more quickly. It takes that phosphorus into the lake much more readily than it did in the past, and all kinds of things happen inland that subsequently impact our aquatic systems. So
on the fundraising dinner on October 25th, Saturday at the J. Bradley Convention Center in Chatham, give me the details.
Well, we've had 3 fundraising dinners in the Simcoe area that were very successful, and to raise money to do research up at LongPoint. Yeah. And now we thought that, we're doing lots of research down here. We're going to spend $100,000 doing research on Matt Colombo's PhD project this year, which we'll talk more about hopefully, this year alone. And so we thought, we wanted to attract attention to what we're doing, attract attention to the importance of Lake St. Clair and the threats to it, and also, bring people together to celebrate conservation.
So Scott, over the years, your club's raised a ton of money to go towards wetlands and whatnot. Where did some of these projects go out, and what happened to them?
Well, we tend to work on things that are of threat to the Great Lakes. Things like the zebra mussels potential for contaminant transfer to waterfowl, Phragmites, and now some of the threats here at Lake St. Clair. So we try to study things that help our conservation partners, address concerns, but also help our conservation partners, say like Ducks Unlimited and Canadian Wildlife Service and M&R, better manage our waterfowl and wetland resources. So we're trying to answer key questions that are important to society. The other thing that we do is we support and supervise graduate students. So we're doing important research, but at the same time, we're training tomorrow's leaders. So if you look at where our graduate students and undergraduate students have gone from after they left us, they're working all over North America, lots of them in Ontario, in real key positions, decision-making positions, which we feel is a very important contribution.
So we just happen to have one of your students here, Matt Colombo. Matt, come on over. So Matt, are you a local lad, or are you from out of town, so to speak?
I'm from out of town, if you could say that.
And whereabouts?
I'm originally from Buffalo, New York.
Oh, so you are way out of town.
Just a little bit out of town, yes.
So how did you get involved with an Ontario thing like this?
I got involved with LongPoint Waterfowl through mainly their reputation in the scientific community and the waterfowl community. I went to school with who was a postdoc at the time, and then he was employed as a scientist for LongPoint Waterfowl. And we kept in contact, and I was always very impressed with LongPoint's work and their students, and I kept my eye open for when the position came up and threw my name in the hat, and here I am.
So where did you study under? What university?
I did my master's at Mississippi State University. And
And
then my undergrad before that was at the State University of New York, Environmental Science and Forestry in Syracuse.
so what prompted you to get in this field of work?
Well, I started off pretty much undeclared, undecided, didn't know what direction I wanted to go into, but knew I wanted to do something where I could wake up every day and really enjoy the work that I do and be passionate about it. And when I learned more about the wildlife field, and it fell right in line with my interests, and been going at it ever since.
I think it's a darn good choice.
I'm pretty happy with it.
I hopefully Scott let you go hunting once in a while.
I think you'll let me out a couple times.
Thanks. So Scott, where can somebody find out more information about the LongPoint Waterfowl or the St. Clair chapters?
I suggest probably the best way is to check our website, so www.longpointwaterfowl.org.
And emails or anything like that, or just go right to the website and have it all there?
Yeah, they can send me an email, spetrie@longpointwaterfowl.org, and we can send them all kinds of information about various things that we do.
There's one thing I didn't want to mention, I meant to ask earlier, but you have a Adopt a Hen program or Adopt a Duck program,
Yep.
Name a Duck program, what's that all
Yeah.
about?
Well, it's actually part of Matt's research project, and it's set such that the transmitters that he's putting on cost between $4,000 and $5,000 each, so they're very expensive, provide excellent information, and allow us to answer some really key questions. And so what we've done is we've asked sponsors, other individuals or groups, to pay $1,000 or contribute $1,000, and with that they get to name a duck, and then we send them information on where that duck travels and what have you. And we've done this type of thing in the past with the swans that we've worked on and lesser scaup, and in about 70 birds that we tracked, every single one of them was named. So that's $70,000 that went into research just from this similar type program.
So that just follows them for the whole life?
Well,
lifetime?
until the transmitter dies, or the duck, yeah.
I know the Southwest Outdoor Club donated money for one
That's right,
year, and I
yeah.
can't remember what the name was, Billy or something, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was, I know they talked about it still, and that was years ago they did that.
Well, and it really brings groups together. Talk to different kind of conservation groups that have done it, and they talk about it for days, and they check it online, and they really embrace it, which is good. So it's good for conservation, and it's also good for our research.
Thanks for being a guest on Hunt Talk.
Thank you very much, Peter.